Hi everyone. Okay, this is part 3 of my story that I decided to go public. If you have not seen part 1 or 2, I'd advise you to watch those 2 parts to kind of keep you, I'm trying to go in a timeline. I have a sense of urgency to go public due to what I'm noticing in my area. Lots of details, but as we all know, they're coming after people like myself. They are using everything, every tactic, every lie, the media, anything and everything that the corrupt part of our intelligence communities, as we all can see now today, it's very, very obvious. Nobody can say that this is not happening to people because we all today can see it. That's why I know going public and today, 2024, is much easier to talk about these outrageous, radical, evil tactics that are used against people like myself. It's much easier to speak publicly about it in 2024 because the cat's out of the bag, y'all. We all see the corruption now. There's no way anyone can deny this stuff. Therefore, it's just harder for people that are my enemies anyway to now get away with continuing what they're doing to me. So here's my little new quote in life. This is to my enemies who like to spread lies about me, okay? If you stop telling lies about me, then I will stop telling the truth about you. That's the bargain. Let's make a deal here. Stop slandering me and making up lies and rumors. And guess what? Then I'll stop having to tell the truth about all of you, okay? Anyway, so part three is now about the beginning of my relationship with a man by the name of Charles Dyer. Charles Dyer, July 4 Patriot. This is, again, I'm trying to explain why I have enemies and what this is all about and why I would be put on a list for to be destroyed. And again, I was told this straight up. I was told this by Edward Snook, an Oregon journalist that I hired back in 2012. He told me directly that the FBI did not like what I was doing and that he was working to destroy me. He said this many times. I'm dropping a video that's going to have all of the clips so you'll be able to hear for your own ears Edward Snook and his emails that he sent to all the people in my life back then that he is working to destroy me. He told everyone it's no secret. It was no secret back then. Now he's trying to cover his tracks because he's actually removed all of his public defamation, all the newspaper articles, everything that he used to publish and have public blogs about me. And he had, blog talk radio shows and public statements. And just, it was crazy, y'all. For about 4 or 5 years, this man was very persistent on slandering me and making a false image of me publicly about me looking like I'm a domestic terrorist. He literally, in our lawsuit, Edward Snook literally put in numerous of his filings against me, stating on court record that I'm one of those right-wing extremist domestic terrorists, that I'm dangerous, that I've got a mental case, all this type of profiling around me as if I am dangerous with a mental disorder. That's what he's been saying over and over and over all these years. That's what his motive is. And I'll tell you how I know that, because I've come to put all the pieces together and I've found out the tactics. So anyhow, before I met Charles, before I knew who Ed Snook was, about this is where the FBI comes in, is because I was involved with Charles Dyer. So where I left off was Charles had a guilty verdict. He gets out of prison and he gets out of, hang on. Y'all out. It's my dogs. I'm sorry. Charles Dyer was released on bail. And so this is when I met him in person. So I end up going to Oklahoma to do family research. And on my way through, I wanted to stop and I met Charles in person because now since I saw that he almost got where he had a guilty verdict and I believed in everything this man, believed in. And so I wanted to make sure myself if he was actually really guilty, hang on, out. Or if it was all, if he was innocent. So I took it upon myself to meet him in person. And so that's what I did. I made a time. We met for lunch. And as we're sitting at lunch, he had a stack of paperwork. And he shared with me what happened to him in trial. And let me just say this. Everything that we've witnessed happening to Trump and all of these corrupt, hearings and charges and just all of the, if you ever hear Trump talk about how they treat him in court, how the judges are not following laws and they're making up their own rules, they didn't let the prosecutor present evidence or let the witnesses testify, all these violations that's happening to Trump is identical to what happened to my friend Charles Dyer back in 2011, when he had his trials. So this is nothing new about the corruption within our judicial system. And I'm sorry that Trump is having to go through this insanity. But now we have, hopefully, our upcoming president has his own experience of the corruption within our judicial system. He's experienced it firsthand himself. So I think this is going to help with situations that I'm dealing with and just the average American. We've got to fix our justice system, y'all. And so my point is that what's happening to Trump happened to Charles. Same, almost identical. That evidence was not shown to the jury. The prosecutor lied to the jury, literally lied, and told the jury lies on the closing statement. That's why he almost got a guilty verdict. His forensic evidence that proves he did not rape his daughter, and the forensic examination that was done by the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigations, all of this exculpatory evidence that the prosecutors are required to show the jury if they're holding exculpatory evidence, the prosecutor has a rule, according to prosecutorial misconduct, that they're required by their position, and they swear and take an oath that all evidence, whether it's for the state or against the state, will be shown, and exculpatory evidence is required by law to be given to the jury members, no matter what. If there's exculpatory evidence, and what exculpatory evidence means in law, that is the legal word meaning that this is very specific evidence that could either sway the jury guilty or not guilty. That this type of evidence is so critical to someone's case that, again, it could sway from guilty to not guilty. And that's the exact kind of evidence that Charles Dyer had. He had exculpatory evidence that was performed by the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigations. Patrick Kennedy is the agent who performed the forensic investigation. I actually contacted Pat Kennedy, recorded my conversation. I have so much evidence to prove this man was literally set up. Okay. But again, this forensic evidence, exculpatory, was never given to his jury. The prosecutor lied to the jury on the closing statements. So therefore, he got a guilty verdict until somebody changed their vote. One jury member changed their vote. So when I met Charles in person, he shared all this with me. I'm like, well, why haven't you shown your evidence publicly? Because his stack of paperwork he had right in front of him was all of his exculpatory evidence. And he told me because the judge put a gag order on him. Okay, so this man that I just met, a great Marine military guy, was totally innocent, and he was being set up. He even told me that while he was in jail, the CIA and the FBI came and had a visit with him, handed him a page of objectives, and told Charles Dyer, hey, if you work for us undercover for 2 years, be an undercover paid informant for the militia patriot community, that they'll make all his charges go away. They told him that straight up. So hello, ding, ding, ding. Now I'm seeing it, because that's exactly what Rick Light is. He's an undercover paid informant. That's why Rick Light was acting like he knew Charles Dyer real well when he really didn't, because he assumed that Charles Dyer was going to take the deal and sign off on these list of objectives and work undercover. But when Charles was offered this by the CIA, he told me he looked at the list, he threw it back across the table. He said, F you, I want my day in court. I'm innocent. I'm not going to work for you undercover. I want my day in court, because Charles is innocent. So at that point, when he had the meeting with the FBI and the CIA, when they came in and visited him while he was in jail, he still believed, and still believed at this time, in the justice system. He knew that he was innocent. He had the proof of his innocence. All he needed was another shot to have the prosecutor do his job and show the jury his evidence, and that there would be no way any jury would be able to prove him guilty. So that's what was a big deal. So as I'm sitting there and I look at his forensic evidence, and I'm like, well, dude, you got a gag order. Well, shoot, give it to me. I don't have a gag order. I'll make it public for you. And that was my very beginning of my involvement with Charles Dyer. That choice that I made at that very moment to take this man's evidence, myself, because he was gagged, and to make it public, started my entire chain of events from that point forward. And that's going to be in part 4. So if you want to hear more about how the corruption and the insanity that's been going on because of this choice that I made to tell this man's truth, come to part 4. Okay, thanks for listening. I'll see you in part 4. Bye.